Number 1. Analyze every single chess game you play. If you do it the right way, I guarantee this one habit only will get you a few hundred points in no time. In this video, I'm gonna share with you the proven system to get your chess into the next level. I'm gonna do it completely for free because I'm on a mission to help 10,000 people achieve their chess goals. What's up, chess player? When I was a kid, I never wanted to analyze my games. I was like, I want to play as much as possible. It's so fun, it's great, but analyzing your games, it's so boring. You need to sit there, try to understand your mistakes. I mean, who cares, right? But my coach always told me, no, that the wrong approach, you're never going to achieve any progress until you're going to analyze your games properly. And I could never understand what that properly means. I mean, what I am supposed to do, is it enough just to go through the moves with the engine or with the coach, or what the hell I should do to really take my chess to the next level? Here I am, many years later, after analyzing thousands of games, both played by me, by my students, just some games from the chess history, and I can truly confirm this is the best way you can ever improve your chess. Now, let me show you how I do it so you can use the same method with your own games. This is the game I have played on Sicily in Italy, which is, by the way, a fantastic place. I mean, the food is so tasty there, the people are so chaotic, but just when you visit this place, you understand it's so special. I mean, I definitely recommend you do. And if you have, let me know in the comments, please. Let's see how many people have been there, because this place is fantastic. It's so different from everything else. Anyway, I decided when I'm already in Sicily, I have to play the Sicilian defense. So I played here the move c5. My opponent went for the main move knight to f3, e6. And here is the second truth I wish I knew around 1000 ELO. Learning openings is not that important. When I was a kid, I was trying to learn chess. I thought this stupid openings, this is where I should spend most of my time. It's so important to memorize every single line till move 20 so that I come prepared to the game and then I can outplay my stronger opponents. It's just so untrue. I mean, if you want to achieve a very professional level, master's level, if you want to become a grandmaster or world champion, then yeah, of course, at some point you need to learn a lot of theory. It's just not possible nowadays, unfortunately, to play chess without opening theory. But if you are at 1000 level, it's just not true that you need to memorize all of those variations, that you need to watch hundreds and hundreds of videos about best trips in a certain opening and then memorize it all. It's just not the efficient way to learn chess. I understand it might be funny, I understand you might be happy to like checkmate your opponent in 3-4 moves, but it's not really the way you improve in chess. In fact, all you need to do for the entire chess career, unless of course once again you go professional, you can learn in just 10 days. And that is enough for the entire life afterwards. To prove that, I have created a dedicated 10-day opening mastery course where you can do just that, build a complete and holistic lifetime opening repertoire, both for white and black, in just 10 days. I mean, the people are so happy with it. Take a look at the reviews yourself. The price is very low, so this offer is perfect for you. There is also a 7-day money-back guarantee, so if you are unhappy for any reason, you can always get your money back. Anyway, that is all you need to know about openings. Absolutely nothing else is required. You are just practicing it and see what works, what doesn't work. What is very important and why this program is so different from everything else is that it doesn't focus, it doesn't require you to spend thousands and thousands hours of memorizing everything. Instead, it teaches you the key principles. That is what important in chess and the opening. I would argue until 2000 rating. Definitely, you don't need to put that much focus on the openings. You just need to know your stuff. You need to know 1 or 2 openings, but not in terms of every single move. In terms of ideas and key principles of what kind of plans you should play there. It doesn't end with an opening. It's not like just you develop all of your pieces and that's all. No, it's important to understand the ideas, what you do afterwards in every single opening you play. And that is exactly what we cover in the course in such a high deep, and that is the reason people love it so much. So anyway, I played here the move e6, d4, My opponent played the main line, takes, knight takes d4, and I played the move a6. I really like to play this line, but I cannot say that I know a lot of series. So here is the proof for you that you can even play that when you are a chess professional. Chess theory is becoming more important at this level, but still not the main thing, because sooner or later you still get some kind of a chess position where both of you just see it for the first time. I mean, both you and your opponent, and you just need to play chess. And this is where your general level of understanding comes into the first place, and that is what I'm trying you to teach instead of those stupid opening traps. Anyway, my opponent played here knight to c3, which is one of the main moves. I still knew that, well, I can play b5 here, one of the possible lines, a very aggressive line. My opponent played bishop e3, and I was anticipating, of course, bishop goes to b7, a very strong one here. Basically, b4 is already a threat to win a pawn in the center. I was anticipating some plans with queen d2, long castles, and then some crazy attacks. I mean, he's an Italian guy after all, so he has to just go forward, attack, and that is what they do by nature. He played instead bishop to d3, which is, yeah, kind of a normal move, just protecting the pawn, developing another piece to the game. That is very logical. But for some reason it's not that playable. Turns out I could have started to attack immediately with b4, pushing the knight back, and then play knight to f6. Unfortunately, I have done it immediately. Well, I know, of course, the general opening principles that I definitely recommend you know at 1000 level, which are developing all of your pieces, focusing on the center. Center is the most important part of the board, making sure that your king is secure. And once you're fully prepared, fully developed, you need to develop the minor pieces first, knights and bishops, and then the major pieces, and then go all in into the attack. That is the plan. So I played knight f6. I'm creating yet another threat against that pawn on e4, but my opponent plays e5 immediately. And that is, of course, the Italian spirit, as we know it. He's going forward, attacking the knight goes to d5. I never want to go back. By the way, bonus tip for you at this point, just never ever go back. Always, if you have a choice, go forward, because that is how you get active, that's how you learn something in chess, that's how you score the points. Like knight g8 would be a horrible, horrible move. So, knight goes to d5. Now I'm attacking the bishop on e3 and the knight on c3, so my opponent decides to exchange. I take it back, and my opponent decided to focus on the development in this game, which is actually a very good strategy. You should do the same. So he played castles. Now you can see he has a huge development advantage. He has already developed 3 pieces here, and I have just developed 1 piece. And that's why he's better here. So that's basically all you need to know about the opening at this level. You just need to religiously focus on the development, and in most of the cases, 99%, you're gonna be good to go. Just make sure you follow your opponent's threats, just not to blunder something easy in one move. Now in this position, of course, I had this feeling that, you know, my opponent has developed so many pieces, he already castled, so he's about just to get all in into the attack and destroy me, and I need to create some counterplay. I need to somehow finish my development. So far I have just developed a single bishop. That's not the way it should be. So I played the move d6. I was trying to put some pressure on the center. If he takes, then I play bishop d6, and I already have 2 pieces to be developed. I already can castle. That's much better. But my opponent plays the move f4. He's protecting the pawn here in the center and says, well, you can take it, of course, but then I'm gonna open up my rook, and that's gonna not be funny. I'm gonna attack this f7 pawn, I'm gonna bring my queen, my both bishops are ready, the knight is in the center, I'm just ready to crush you. So I hesitated to play d takes e. I thought it's going to be dangerous, so I wanted to first develop the knight and improve my position and create another threat, because if my opponent takes on d6, I'm happy to take it once again back with the bishop, and I thought I'm completely fine. But I missed just one little thing. Please feel free to pause the video for a second and try to find the move for white here. Number 3, don't be afraid. The best move for white in this position would be to play the move f5 and basically destroy black here, because you need to take advantage. Like, if your opponent is underdeveloped, this is the type of advantage that is great for you to have. But if you don't use it immediately, it's gonna just disappear. Your opponent is gonna make a few moves and it's gone. So you must use it as fast as possible. But the problem with the move f5 it's the best move objectively in the position, but it sacrifices the pawn. And my opponent is low rated, he's like 2000 and I'm 2400, so he's thinking, well, I don't want to give up the pawn, maybe I shouldn't, because what if I miss something, and so on. But the rule here is just don't be afraid. I mean, let's face it, we are not hockey players, we are not boxing, we shouldn't be afraid at all, we are just shuffling the pieces around a wood board. I mean, how dangerous that might be. So just go for it, especially if you're just starting at chess, if you are like 1000 rated, you have absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, sometimes I go to a tournament and I also have such a problem because I'm thinking like, well, I'm on such a huge journey, I have made so many kilometers to get there, and I spent so much money, so now I need to really carefully play, and if I make this mistake, that's going to destroy my chances to get a Grandmaster norm or whatever. But this is the wrong approach because it influences your brain, and then you can't really objectively take the decisions. You should just let it go and just enjoy the game. And this is the way to enjoy the game. Just go all in for the crazy attack and see what happens. Maybe you're gonna lose, but you're gonna learn so much, of course, if you follow the first rule, analyze it every single one of your games, and with the time you get much better with that. But here is how you win the game. So let me show you why it's so great. I was planning to take here on a5 because, well, my knight is so beautiful in the center of the board, I hoped for it to somehow cover everything. My opponent takes, I take it back, and then it seems like I'm holding, and that was my hope, that it's not that bad. And it is. I mean, it's like +1 for white. But from a practical point of view, it's very difficult to somehow stabilize everything as black because you have the skin naked. Of course, directly like queen h5 doesn't work because I have g6, and thank God this knight in the center that covers so many squares that I'm happy to have it. Also, the bishop on d5 is very strong. That's controlling the entire diagonal and protects this weak pawn on e6, which of course would be a hilarious disaster to lose. And this is where the right plan for white lies. It's not like what you think about at all. That is why I guess my opponent didn't go for it, because he was calculating some queen h5 lines, I don't know, some crazy attacks immediately, but it doesn't work. The right plan for white is to play here the move b3, and just prepare the move c4, and then it turns out it's very difficult to protect that e6 pawn, and once the bishop is gone, the whole position just falls apart for black. Big thank you to the sponsor of this video, the Chestnut company, which is providing this beautiful Chestnut ELO board for me for the purposes of this analysis. It's extremely useful because you can just analyze all of your games, all of the positions, and save it in the PGN formats to take a look later, which you can never do with a simple board. It has so many interesting and useful functions. I have made a complete review about it, and if you want to take advantage of the special offer and get a huge discount and buy one of the Chestnut products, this is just one of them. They have different ones to offer you depending on your preferences, so if you're interested, just use the link in the description to take advantage of this amazing offer and get a huge discount. So this is how you should play. If you have a feeling, if you have this intuition, I made this mistake so many times in my chess career. When I started to think about the position, my intuition immediately told me what I should play, and it just feels right. But then I started to calculate the variations. I spent so much time, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I couldn't calculate it till the end, and then I wasn't convinced, and the move just feels kind of crazy, and I didn't go for it, just because I was afraid to miss something in my calculation. But in most of the cases, our intuition just helps us. It's based on the entire experience we had playing chess beforehand, and so now it helps to recognize some patterns and find the next moves. I mean, I understand it's not always correct, it's also the case for me, but I wish I knew it much earlier in my chess career, that I can actually rely on my intuition much more than I actually do. A nice bonus is, of course, that you also spare so much time that you need later on in the game. I'm not saying that you should see the move and make the move. You rather never make a move without thinking what your opponent can do. But what I'm saying is, when you have a choice between two moves, and one is what your intuition suggests, another one what your calculation suggests, then maybe rely a little bit more on intuition, if of course it doesn't lose immediately. My opponent thought for a long time here, and I assume he thought about making the move f5 but didn't trust his intuition, so he played the move queen to g4, which when you think about it, does make some sense. Like you develop a new piece, you want to attack, so you also are working in the same direction. But well, I'm now taking this pawn on e5. So basically, he also sacrificed the pawn, but in a very weird fashion, because now after takes, I take it, and then basically I do it with the tempo. Now the queen has to make another move. It went to h5, which is suddenly a double threat. So here the f7 pawn is under attack, and the knight on e5 is under attack. So if you want to go somewhere with the knight, you can only go to g6, but then somehow bishop can take it, and I have to take with the f pawn, and that is absolutely not what I wanted to achieve. So I wasn't even considering such an opportunity. Instead, you remember, development is the key, and I played here the move bishop to d6, just bringing the new piece into the game, and at the same time protecting that knight. And I was like 100% sure that my opponent is gonna play now rook a to e1, just finishing the development in the same manner, bringing all of the pieces, saying that, okay, you have an extra pawn, but just now try to deal with all of my threats. I mean, even optically, rook a to e1 feels like an amazing move to make, and you just want to do it. For some reason, my opponent had a completely different idea. He wanted to like attack immediately, which is in most of the cases not the right thing to do. Like, bring all of your pieces to the battlefield first and then smash your opponent. Like, he played bishop f4 here, which is attacking the knight. If, I mean, you calculate, of course you should calculate it, it's an active move, it's creating a threat. Remember to always use the 4-step system formula to find the best move in every possible position, checks, captures, threats, and active moves. So bishop f4 is a threat here, attacking the knight, and remember, I still cannot really freely go somewhere, for example, knight takes d3, because my opponent is gonna take on d6, attacking that f7 pawn. That's going to be a disaster for me. But before doing that, calculate what your opponent can do. Never make a move without thinking what your opponent can do. And it turns out that bishop f4 is really not the right way to go about it, because now I just play the move g6, and it turns out the queen is in trouble. First of all, I make sure this f7 pawn is never ever a problem for me, at least as long as there is nobody along the f-file, especially the queen. My opponent played here the move queen to h6, just doesn't want to go back, he wants to be active, he wants to maybe go to g7 and attack once again the rook, the f7 square, and be aggressive. But the problem with that, if you're making too many moves with the same pieces, notice that this queen made a lot of moves. Now this bishop made a lot of moves. There might be the chance that it's not gonna work well for you. Ideally, you should always follow the golden rule, one piece, one move. And that would be the case if he would play rook a to e1. Now the rook would be taking part and creating really dangerous threats. But this time, everything is fine for me. There is basically no direct threat. Maybe queen g7. Yeah, that is a threat because it's a double attack. The knight is hanging, the rook is hanging. But now it's my move. Like, so far I have just blocking my opponent's threats, but now it's my move. Yes, I have another threat to block, but please remember, you always start with active moves. Only if you don't have any active opportunities, then you proceed with passive ones, which are like defending, like trying to, I don't know, play rook f8 and make sure that you don't blunder immediately. That's always the last step. First, you always see whether you can give a check, capture something, or create a threat for your opponent, because maybe, just maybe, your threat is more dangerous than his. That's what I decided to do. I hope you already see the right move. And this is the rule number 4. Always try to be as active as possible. So I played here queen to b6, continuing my development and creating a huge threat for black, because how do you deal with it? The knight is hanging, the knight is pinned along this long diagonal, it cannot move, and you also cannot protect it by the pawn, which would be a desirable thing, because in this case I'm gonna just grab your bishop on d3 completely for free, and I was even thinking that after knight takes d3, if you go on with your attack and play queen g7, I can just completely ignore it, take on f4, and that would be 2 pieces for the rook, and I have a huge, I mean, what kinds of 2 pieces? Those 2 bishops, they're just monsters. They're just gonna destroy absolutely everything on its way. So I was happy to get such a position. So c3 is not really a move white can afford. So after queen to b6, my opponent finally started to realize that maybe his strategy wasn't the right one and he might be in trouble, but unfortunately it's kind of too late to do something about it. The knight is hanging with a check, you have to defend it. My opponent played bishop to e3 back. If you have to make those moves like forward, bishop f4, and then back, bishop e3, not changing anything at all in the position, but just wasting two moves. And remember, time is the most precious thing in chess, so you just cannot allow yourself to do that. I pretty much guarantee you're gonna get into trouble if you do that. And that is exactly what happened to my opponent. Hopefully you can find the right move here for black. It's knight to g4 with a fork. I don't care about those attacks because I'm also attacking the queen and I'm also attacking the bishop, the piece that is attacking potentially my queen with some discover attacks. So the only way I can imagine, because if you play knight takes e6, I can just take on e3 with a check at least, and I'm gonna enjoy an extra piece. You can play knight f5, because at least that's gonna protect the bishop on e3 from queen takes e3, but I can just take the knight. Let me show it to you. I just somehow take it away, and then after bishop takes b6, I can take his queen, and there is absolutely no problem. I'm having an extra knight here. So that is actually what's happening here. My opponent plays the move queen to g7, and now trying to somehow attack, once again, double attack, attacking the f7 pawn, attacking the rook. And what you know about the opening? Of course, the golden target is to develop all of your pieces and make sure your king is secure. Now I can achieve both by doing the long castles. So here is what I'm doing. Nobody cares about that one f7 pawn. Now my rooks are connected. I've finished my development. The bishop is hanging. The knight is in trouble because bishop e5 is actually a huge threat here. So for example, if you want to take on f7 with your rook, which would be a desirable move here. I mean, having so many pieces on the 7th rank is generally very good, but the problem is your opponent just has so more powerful threats than you do. So bishop e5 here just wins because, first of all, where do you move your queen? I mean, I'm sorry, but it seems like the queen is absolutely busted, not even talking about the fact that all of the pieces are hanging there. My opponent, kind of out of desperation, decided to go all in into the attack and try to create some threats for me, so he played the move c4. And I was calculating the lines here, I was trying to find the best move, because remember, that is a huge mistake so many chess players are making, me included, especially low-rated ones, not thinking about your opponent's counterplay, especially if you have a good position. You think like, okay, it doesn't matter, whatever I play, it's always so great, nothing bad can happen. That is very wrong approach, and you can miss so much with it. But instead, you should never underestimate your opponent and always think what he can do, what he can achieve, what he wants, what he dreams, what is his threats, and so on. So here the bishop is under attack. I was considering the move bishop to e5, but then I thought there is knight f5 with a crazy attacks there, everything is hanging. So in the end of the day, I decided I don't need to care about that. I need just to take on c4, and then we have just exactly the same position as before, but now I have an additional threat of this bishop being hanging, and so that cannot be bad for me. I still attack the bishop, I still attack the knight, I still threaten to play bishop e5, and as long as my king is secure here, nothing wrong can happen. My opponent played bishop g5, trying to be active, trying to create some counter threats, but like I said, my main idea is to play bishop to e5 here with a double attack, and there is nothing to save the knight, then the bishop falls apart, everything just loses for white. My opponent played here bishop takes d8, and you know, he looked like an actor at this point. He was like, well, let me take your rook, I know you attack my queen, but you can just grab it, no problem with that. And then he was like ready to take my queen and enjoy his position. But I mean, that was crazy. Sometimes it works in chess. I mean, if you do some actor stuff, that might help. Of course, I'm talking about OTB chess online, it's never possible. But of course, you always start with a check. If you do that, then you're out of trouble, because as long as you give a check to your opponent, there is absolutely nothing he can do, and you're just grabbing the knight, the queen is not under attack anymore, and next move, you can just pick the queen for free. So here you have it. This is how you should analyze your games in real life. You should put it on a physical board. That's number one thing that is very useful. Then the second one is to do it without the engine first. You need to just go through the variations, try to understand what you were thinking about during the game and where you feel you made some mistakes, which moves weren't great, and yeah, just in general, write down on the paper, real paper. Yes, you can do that. Your feelings, your thoughts during the game, what and after the game, of course, what you think might have been wrong, what you think you have done right, and so on. And then, only then, you turn on the engine and compare your thoughts with the engine. I mean, if you do that with every single game you ever play, that's gonna help you so much. I mean, just believe me, just try this system for a few weeks. You're gonna be amazed by the results. Now, if you are doing a game review on chess.com, which we all, of course, do, that is also useful. It's much better than nothing. Always remember, anything is better than nothing, but it's not like the most useful way to go about it, because you are just scrolling through the moves. You are not really diving deep into the depth of position, into what really happened, into why you have made such a mistake. But if you have just a few minutes and you still do it, it's still much better than not analyzing the game at all. Now, the best chess principle I have learned playing chess for 20 years, and it helped me so much and is helping to this day, is number 5, never give up. In this video, I have prepared for you the perfect example of that. I mean, that is such an amazing game. I could never imagine I would do it, but I did. So please learn how to use this most important principle in your games.